Hey, my name is Coach James, and welcome to At the Track Live. At the Track Live, as I've explained in the past, but not to any of the new viewers, is a byproduct of All About Aerodynamics. All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through sixth grade students about physics. In the program, we learn about aerodynamics, force, Isaac Newton's three laws of motion, and a number of topics, physics related topics, that can be demonstrated by using Hot Wheels cars. So, in the program, after I teach the students all about the science, then what happens is I bring in about 400 Hot Wheels cars, and the students use everything they've learned in the science portion of the program to then pick a Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races. So then we set up a 20 foot long track and have a series of drag races to see which car is, in fact, going to be the fastest. And then the students are using the scientific method, so depending on how their car performed, if it did better than expected or worse than expected, they analyze those results to then determine whether or not they would pick the car in the future and why they think that it performed the way it did. Now, at the track live, how that comes into play is because, like every Hot Wheels collector, I go out and I buy Hot Wheels cars pretty much at any store that I go to that sells Hot Wheels. I always check it out, and if I see something that I think either I really like or that the students might like, then I pick it up. But the problem is that I keep a spreadsheet to keep track of all the cars so that when the students pick the cars, I know which student has the car, and I can also locate the cars quickly because I have them all cataloged and numbered, so each car is in a particular slot. And I think right now I have about as of the previous episode, I have 452 Hot Wheels cars cataloged. So as I add more cars, I have to take a picture, I have to shoot a quick video, and then I have to assign them a number and enter them into the spreadsheet so that then I can add them to the list of cars that the students can pick from. And since I have to do the cataloging anyway, and I'm way behind on that because I have hundreds of cars that I've purchased either at stores or at just Hot Wheel collector meetups. But I have hundreds of cars that aren't cataloged. So I figured that since I have to catalog them anyway, I might as well try to make it a little more interesting for me and potentially for any other Hot Wheels enthusiasts who are out there. So the way At the Track Live works is each episode I will be opening up some of the Hot Wheels that I've purchased so that I can catalog those. And what you can do is watch along, you can comment, but the interactive part is that if you go to atthetrack.live, you can go to our website, the All About Aerodynamics website. So if you go to atthetrack.live, there's going to be an option that says choose a car. And if you click that, it will bring you to this page here. And you can scroll down, and what you will find are all of the cars that are currently in our catalog so far. And so when I crack open one of the new cars, if you decide, you know what, I want to see the SuperNet race whatever car that Coach James just cracked open, then you can enter the number of the car, because all the cars have a number. Enter the number into the chat, and then once I finish cataloging the cars, then we will actually take them to the track and have a drag race under All About Aerodynamics rules, which are best 2 out of 3 races. If a car comes off the track, then we restart the race. If the same car goes off the track again a second time, that car is disqualified and loses. If we get enough people who have submitted or suggested cars that they want to see race, then we'll have a little tournament and see who has picked the fastest car. And over time, there should be a car that emerges as the champion that needs to be dethroned. So there's a lot that I have planned once the official launch of At the Track Live kicks off and we do some promotion and advertising. But right now, just trying to test out a few things, make sure everything, the lighting, the graphics, everything is working. And then we'll open it up, and who knows what will happen from then. And as far as the drag racing, so let me bring it back here. And the track setup looks like this. And this is the view that you'll have once we start doing the races. And so I split the track into 3 segments so that you could kind of get a view. So if you look at the far left, you'll see that is the beginning of the track, and the cars will start toward the top of the screen, lane 1, lane 2. And once I launch the cars, they will head towards the bottom of the screen. Once they pass out of view in the first camera to the left, then they will appear in the section of the track in the middle, and then they will eventually cross the finish line. A few things. Our finish line has laser sensors, and a red light, a solid red light, will mark the winner. A flashing red light will mark the loser, the car that came in second. So solid red light is the winner, flashing red light is the loser. And that is how it goes. Now, one of the other things is that you'll notice that we use a launcher instead of a gravity track. And I don't have anything against gravity tracks. It's just that when I was a kid, I had this Hot Wheels stow and go racetrack that it was in a little box, and then it stretched out to about 6-8 feet, something like that. And it came with 2 cars, and those 2 cars are actually the first 2 cars listed on the in our catalog, the Front Running Fairmont and the Murata Stalker. And these are the 2 original cars that came with the stow and go race set that I had when I was a kid. And I just love that drag racing aspect of racing the Hot Wheels. And when my son was younger, we would go to the store and buy Hot Wheels and then decide, okay, we'd look and pick the cars that we thought were fastest. We'd bring them back here. We'd set up Hot Wheels had a newer version of the stow and go raceway, and we'd race the cars and keep statistics on who won and who lost and which cars were faster than the others. And it was a lot of fun. And then once I created the All About Aerodynamics program, then I just expanded that to include a 1/4 mile, 1/64 scale 1/4 mile track, which is just over 20 feet long. And then I ended up also having to design and create and have 3D printed and created a special launcher that launches the cars with more force, because ultimately launching the cars with more force creates more speed, and the more speed the cars have, the greater the impact of drag and some other aerodynamic forces are. And so it's easier to demonstrate to the students some of the aerodynamic forces affecting the cars when they're moving at higher speeds. So there's a whole lot that's going into this, but again, it's just the reason why I prefer the launcher versus the gravity track. And I have the 6-lane gravity track, Hot Wheels gravity track, and I used that during the course of the program, and it's fine. It's just a different way to race Hot Wheels, and we use the launcher. Some people use gravity tracks. It's all about what you prefer. I don't have any problem with the gravity tracks at all. But with All About Aerodynamics, we are definitely using the launcher. And if you want to find out more information about the All About Aerodynamics curriculum and program, and maybe you have a son or daughter who's in elementary school, if you want to bring our program to their school, then you can find out more information. Just visit aaerodynamics.com, or you can just go to atthetrack.live, and we have a link there, and you can see videos and get more information about the program. But at the Track Live, we're not so much dealing with the science aspect as we are just trying to get the new cars cataloged and get them and test them out on the track, see how they do. And I don't modify any of my Hot Wheels at all. So what you see is pretty much what you get. I don't add any graphite to the axles, nothing. The cars come out of the package and then they hit the track. And so one of the exciting parts is actually finding out how the cars are going to perform on the track, because I don't know. And even with the 450 some odd cars that I have, all of them haven't been selected and all of them haven't raced. There's some that the students kind of gravitate towards a little more. Some of the fantasy castings, Lamborghinis are always popular. But there are a lot of cars that I have no idea how they'll perform until we actually just race them. And so that was the case in the last episode, the first test episode of At the Track Live, where we took a look at this car. And this is the 57 Plymouth Fury. And that was one of the cars that we cracked open. Let me get a closer view here. And we took it to the track, and it raced against the Muscle and Blown, which was another car that we pulled out. And Muscle and Blown was faster than this 57 Plymouth Fury, but the problem with the Plymouth Fury is that it kept crashing. I think probably ran it maybe 6 or 7 times, and it made it down the track once, definitely, maybe twice, but it certainly wasn't anything that was, well, it was strange that it kept crashing so many times. And because the cars launch out with so much force and move so quickly, it's hard to see in real time why one car is crashing or not. Let me get this on a little, get it to spin around. Take a look at that. And so sometimes it's hard to know. So what I have to do is, and this is one of the things that I enjoy, is going back to find out why a car crashed. Why didn't it perform up to expectations? What happened? What went wrong? So I went back and took slow motion video of the Plymouth Fury on the track to see what exactly the problem was. And it turns out that the problem is in the design of the bumpers. So as you can see on the car, the wheels kind of are set narrowly under the body, and they're not flush with the sides of the car. But then if you look at the bumpers, the silver bumpers wrap around the frame and kind of stick out just a little bit. So when I went back to go look at the video, what I found, and actually I can just, I'll show you here. Let me stop this from moving. Go back that way, stop. If you look right here, it's a good view. You see how this bumper sticks out. It's not flat, it sticks out like that, and it's that way on in the front and in the back. You can see it sticking out right there. So it's not flush with the car. Turns out that is a big problem. And when I went back to go look, this is what I saw, because we have these, there are these blocks that help keep the track straight. And when the car is coming down, this 57 Plymouth Fury, if the car gets too close to one side of the track or the other, the you can see the little extension on the bumper, it hits the barrier that's meant to help keep the track in place, and that would cause the car to flip. It would cause it to crash. It would cause it to slow down in some cases. And here's a view from overhead. So if the car happens to just get the right angle, it will clip one of those barriers, and it's not a lot. It's just a little bit. You can see right there. It's just like, it's very slight, but it's enough when the car is moving at such a high speed that little bump against the barrier is going to take the car out. And with some cars, we're able to run them backwards, and that makes a difference. Like if there's a design, I don't want to say flaw, but if there's a design component with the car that prevents it from making it all the way down the track going forward, sometimes we can flip that car backwards and it will go. There's one car, I think it's called the RD06, that for some reason does a much better job going backwards, and that's typically how we run it. So with this one, I was thinking like, okay, well maybe I can run it backwards and still get it down the track. But it turns out that even the back of the car has these bumpers, and in some cases the front would miss the barrier, and then the back part of the bumper would catch the barrier, and then the car would flip. So it caused a problem all around, and it just wasn't it just turns out that was the problem. And so I believe I have one of the slow motion videos here. So on this one, you can see here comes the car, it's coming down, and then bang, right there, it just clips the edge. So let me run it back. And the cars come out with a lot of force, and if they're not, depending on how they're aligned in the starting block, they may have moved to one side of the track or the other. They may drift. They typically don't go directly straight down the track the entire time. At some point, they're going to rub up against the sides, and depending on the angle that they hit the sides, it's going to start a chain reaction that represents, which is good for the students because it represents Isaac Newton's third law of motion, which for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So when the car hits one side, it's going to bounce off and hit the other side, and that continues typically all the way down the track, and the friction slows the car down. So cars that are able to sort of maintain a straight trajectory all the way down the track and have minimal contact with either side tend to do better. So in this, you can see as the car comes down, it's on, I mean, when we're looking at it, it's on the right. It's against the right side. Then it bounces off. Now it's on the left, and you see a little bit of space. And then it comes back over to the right. And as it's coming over to the right, it moves over, and right there, it just clips the barrier right there. Just comes down. And this is in slow motion. You can see, and just clipped it. And that was all it took. It just took that little bit of corner to just touch it, and that was it. And it took the car out. And so I said that the car, it did make it down the track a couple of times, and one of the times it did it, this is what happened. This was at the start, and so what you can see there, let me run it back. One thing is you can see the amount of force, because that acrylic cover that I placed on, that was another, that was a result of sort of trial and error, because a lot of cars were flying off the track because we're giving them so much force at the beginning that some of the cars would fly up into the air. So to correct for that and keep them on the track, I designed this acrylic cover. It's very basic, but it does the job. So when the cars take off, they'll hit the top of the acrylic cover and then directly go right back down onto the track, and typically they'll stay on the track and complete the race. So with this, with the slow motion, when I run it, you can see that the car comes out, it flies up, it hits the acrylic. You can see the acrylic just kind of jump a little bit, like right there. You can see it just move when it hits it. But then it gets back on the track, and then it just starts a kind of lowrider motion where it's just bouncing. So it's like, it's just bouncing, bouncing, bouncing. But then right here, right there, you can see right there how that little corner bumper, it catches the barrier, but for whatever reason, it just missed getting snagged on it. And it actually, it's like the car made a turn. But once it turned, you can see it changes the direction of the car. So now it's going to start pinballing back and forth down the track. But this is just what happens. And, you know, that could easily have been a crash if it was just, I mean, even a millimeter over. It would have been a crash, but it just ended up being a glancing blow. But it sent the car off in a different direction. So if I let it run, this is what we get. See, the car comes bouncing out, hits it, and continues down the track. So it's definitely, again, it's one of the things that I like to do, because in theory, all the cars they're just getting force, so they should be able to make it down the track. If they don't make it down the track, I want to know why. And it's also helpful because I can use some of the same scientific method steps to investigate the cause that I want the students to use when they're racing their cars and they encounter a problem. So that's just a little interesting tidbit about the 57 Plymouth Fury. So if, in fact, you decide to go to atthetrack.live and you decide to choose a car, and you come to our page here and you scroll all the way down, if you scroll all the way down to the end of the page, you will see that the 57 Plymouth Fury has been added in. So that and the Muscle and Blown are our two newest entrants into the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live catalog. So now what I'm going to do is I've got two more cars to crack open, and we'll take a look, add those in, and then take those to the track. And again, if you decide that you want to find a car to race against the cars that we have, then all you need to do is go to atthetrack.live, click choose a car, scroll down, take that number, put it in the chat, and we'll race them. So let's see. All right, let's see which cars we've got today. All right, first up is the 18 Copo Camaro. So let me crack this one open. Yeah. All right. And here we go. So let me put it on the turntable here. So I can take this picture. All right, so let's go to that view. And there it is, the Copo Camaro. Get that picture. All right, got the picture. And then I also take a video, because if you go to our Instagram account page, post up a lot of the cars and try to allow people to select a car that they want to see race the car that we featured. And all you have to do, it's similar to At the Track Live, it's just a little less instantaneous. You can go to our Instagram account and select, leave a comment and tell us the car that you would like to see us race against the car that we featured. Now, the difference is that the car that you suggest doesn't have to be one that's currently in our catalog and our rotation. So what we can do is, and I've done this in the past, is if someone makes a suggestion for a car that I don't currently have, then I will go online, and hopefully it's not going to cost me too much money, and I'll order it. And once it comes in, then we will have the race. But this is pretty standard modern Camaro. It's got the little wheelie bar in the back. I don't know that that's going to although with the force that these cars come out with and the way that they do tend to take off, a wheelie bar might not be such a bad idea. So I usually want to get a full revolution, which we've got here. All right, that's good. So now I can, let's see, while that's going around, just need to enter that into the spreadsheet. So now we've got car number 453, and this is the 2018 Copo Camaro. Oh, SS Super Sport. Okay, don't want to leave that out. And let's see here, the year. I always like to put the year in. And this one, it's got a plastic base, which may actually help it do pretty well in the races. And this is from 2018. Okay, so we've got that one. And then let's see, let's crack open another. And this is the interesting. This is the 84 Pontiac Firebird, which I guess I should turn it like that. Which is interesting because this one was, let me crack it open. This one, the year on this is 2019. So that's when this casting was made. What's interesting is that I actually have an 80s Firebird that looks something like this, and except that one is actually from like the 80s because I had it when I was a kid. And in fact, it is in, let me switch over here. I know it's know it's in here. The search function on the website. Oh, boom. There it is. It's right there. It's number 4, and it's called the 80s Firebird. And it is, you can tell that it is very similar in design to this one, which is the 84 Firebird. Let me get it set up here on the turntable, and we will take a look. All right. Let's take a look. So let me click on this, bring up that. So that's the picture of the one that I have, and the one that I had when I was a kid. And this is the one that was just made a few years ago. And this is the one that will be entered into our database. And there's a lot of cases like that, especially with Mustangs, with Camaros, with Corvettes. There are going to be older versions of those made with different materials, with different wheels. And so it'll be interesting to see how the newer models do versus the older models. So I think once we go to the track, I will actually see how the old model performs against the new model. Get this turning the right way. I always want these going, for the videos, I always want them going counterclockwise just for consistency, and I guess I should lock in the focus. That might help. And I will go ahead and start the video there. We'll just get to take a 360 view. Now I noticed that the other version that I have, the older version, is not it is T-top. This one sort of has the T-top, but it's not removed. So in theory, it's there, but in actuality, they just put into sunroof windows up there, 2 sunroof panels, and called it a day, which is fine. So let me put this into the database. This is the 84 Pontiac Firebird. Okay. And it's got the Trans Am decal, little Hot Wheels sticker. It's got the Firebird on there, on the right on the hood. All right, as it comes around, like I said, I just have to get that full 360 view. Got it on the video, and then just need to take a still picture. Don't need to zoom in that far. That's probably good right there. Stop the turntable. Flip this thing around and get it right about there. And I had to make the little plastic part that goes beneath the car because these had a tendency to roll off of the platform, and that didn't really serve anyone other than to all it did was just frustrate me. Get this thing lined up right there. I like the 3/4 view so that even from the picture, people who want to pick it can get an idea what it's going to look like. So you've got the nice 3/4 view, the 84 Pontiac Firebird. Very nice. So let's see. Now that we've got the cars, we've got the 84 Pontiac Firebird, and then we have the 18 Copo Camaro. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take these 2 cars. I'm going to take them to the track, and we're going to see how they perform. Are they going to stay on the track? Which car is fastest? I haven't weighed these. Weighing them is one of the things that we do in the All About Aerodynamics in the class. Students have to weigh the cars and take a bunch of different measurements and sort of really just get to know their cars. Now, will this little tiny wheelie bar, will that make a difference? It may, because again, the cars do tend to pop up. When the launching block pushes them out, it does so with so much force that sometimes the cars try to do a wheelie from the start, Fast and Furious style. So, all right, I'm going to hit this. It's going to give about 30 seconds or so. I'm going to go out to the track, and we're going to line them up and see how this all turns out. Okay, so I have got 3 cars. I actually pulled the old school Firebird, the legit 80s Firebird. I pulled that one, and I have that ready to go. But we will start off with the Camaro versus the 84 Firebird, the 2018 84 Firebird. So the Firebird is going to be in lane number 1, and we'll have the Camaro in lane number 2. Okay. Camaro doesn't want to set up properly in the launcher. There we go. Looks good. Both cars are in. So, just once again, with our finish line, a solid red light indicates the winner. A flashing red light indicates the car that lost. So I will give us a countdown and race the cars. It's best 2 out of 3, so we'll see which one takes it first. Here we go. Okay, the Camaro took it, and I hit the switch before I got to the countdown, down to 1. But we're going to switch lanes, run it back. Okay, so that race was not exactly close, but we're going to switch sides of the track so that each car has an equal opportunity, just in case there's some issue with one side of the track or the other. So this time the 2019 84 Firebird is going to be in lane 2, and the Camaro is in lane number 1. So we will see how this goes. This is the second, and remember, it's best 2 out of 3. Solid light indicates the winner, flashing light indicates the loser, and the Camaro's already up 1 race to nothing. So we'll see how this turns out. that was a closer race. It was definitely closer, but the Camaro still took it. Not by as much, but it absolutely still won. So, in that case, I do want to see how the old school Firebird performs against the new Firebird. But then I guess since the Camaro is faster, if the old school Firebird wins, then it's going to have to run against the Camaro. So let me grab the cars, get them set up, and see what happens on the track. Okay, let's see. So we'll go new school 84 Firebird. We'll put that in lane number 2. It did pretty well in lane 2 in this last race, so maybe there's some magic happening in lane 2. And then in lane 1 will be the actual 1984 gold Hot Ones. I'm sorry, it's just called the 80s Firebird. It's not, they don't specify the year, just the decade. So we'll go with that. All right. The cars are lined up, so the new school 84 Firebird is in lane 2, old school Firebird lane number 1. Let's see how it works out. Three, two, one, race. Woo. Okay, old school Firebird crashed, so we're going to run it back and see what went wrong and if we can correct it. Now, typically when the cars crash, it is usually, it has to do with how they came out of the launcher, and it's why the most critical thing is to make sure that the cars are lined up straight. And I thought that the old school Firebird was, and that doesn't mean, the fact that it crashed doesn't mean that it wasn't lined up straight. It could be due to a number of things. A lot of it is hard to tell unless I go back and look at the slow motion footage. And unless a car consistently crashes, then the slow motion footage doesn't really help, because unless I can, if a car is always crashing, then there's a reason why. If a car sometimes makes it down the track, sometimes doesn't, but more often than not makes it down the track, then the fact that it crashed is probably due to any kind of anomaly or problem. So that's not really a big deal. I'm going to check it out. So again, old school Firebird is in lane 1. New school Firebird is in lane 2. Let's see if they'll both stay on the track this time. Three, two, one, race. Okay, new school Firebird took that one, and it didn't seem to be all that close. But since that first race where the old school Firebird crashed basically doesn't really count, then we're just going to count new school Firebird has a 1-0 lead. I'm going to switch sides of the track and run it back and see if the new school Firebird will take it again. All right, let's check it out. All right, so here we go. Let's get this set up. All right, so now new school is going into lane number 1. Old school is going into lane number 2. All right. See, part of the thing is to get the cars pressed right up against the launching block, because if they're not pressed up against the launching block, then the launching block will end up punching the car instead of pushing the car. And if it punches into the car, then the cars will typically fly up in the air and have a greater chance to crash. But all right, so here we go. Old school Firebird is in lane 2. New school Firebird is in lane 1. Let's see if there is any difference in the outcome. Three, two, one, race. And there is a difference in the outcome. So new school Firebird actually lost that race. So I don't know if there's I have to examine the track afterwards to make sure that there isn't some hidden advantage in lane 2. But right now what we have is a 1-to-1 situation, so we will switch lanes again and see what the outcome is. Oh, I suppose it would all help if I had the microphone on. But again, we have old school in lane 1. We have new school in lane 2. And I don't know if there's any subtle differences in the track that is causing lane 2 to be faster but old school car did perform better in lane 2 than it did in lane 1. Now, I'd have to really review some footage to see if there was anything to that, and I will go back and, examine the track. But for right now, we have a tie, 1-1. Personally, I think that the new school car is a little faster, but we're going to see right now. So here's the race. Three, two, one, race. Okay, we had the new school car bounce off the post again. But since it wasn't consecutive, we're going to go ahead and run it back and see if it can stay on the track and get the job done. Okay, let's get these lined up. And I think the old school car, I might have to go back and take some slow motion video to find out why it is hitting the barrier, because that is the second time that it's hit the barrier. Since it's not consecutive, we're not going to disqualify the car, but I am curious why that's happening. So I've got it lined up straight. Looks good. Both cars are lined up. So again, it's 1-1. We've had 2 crashes, but since they weren't consecutive, and we're giving the old school car a little bit of a break. So we are going to have this race. And whichever car is the fastest will take it and take this W. Three, two, one, race. Well, old school car crashed again, and I really don't know why. I am going to have to go back and take the slow motion video, but hey, rules are rules. You crash twice consecutively, you're done. So, old school Firebird, ended up upside down. It's a sad way to go out for a car that I loved as a kid, but those are the breaks. So, let me gather these cars up and return to the desk. Okay, so of those 2 cars, the Trans Am did a pretty good job against the old school Firebird, but against the Copo Camaro, it didn't do much of anything. In fact, the Camaro, I'm very curious. I need to go back and look and see if this wheelie bar really did help it to stay on the track and regain all 4 wheels on the track in order to make it down faster. So there's definitely some interesting results, and I'm curious about what exactly is happening um, with the old school Firebird, because in lane 2, or I'm sorry, in lane 1, it crashed a total of 3 times. It didn't crash when it was in lane 2, but it was only in lane 2 for the one race. And in that one race, it went down the track and won. So I have a laser level that I can use to make sure that the track is straight, and I'm going to go through and make sure there aren't any strange dips or curves or bumps or anything like that. But hey, it gave us a good look at the 2 newest entrants into the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live catalog, which are the 18 Copo Camaro SS and the 84 Pontiac Firebird. So the next time, if you want to suggest a car to race whatever car it is that we crack open, then all you have to do is go to atthetrack.live, and then you will have an option that says choose car. When you select that, it will take you to our webpage, and you can go through and find a car that you think you would like to see race whatever car it is that I happen to crack open. So if you want to see Nemo versus whatever the car is, then hey, just take the number and enter it into the chat, and then we'll set the race up. If there's another car that you really like, oh, that's a popular one. This one, the Track Ripper. Kids love to pick that, and I think it has less to do, well, I mean, there are some aspects about the exaggerated style with the huge splitter and the giant shopping cart wing. I mean, it's kind of overly exaggerated, and then also the color scheme, I think, is attractive to them. So this one gets picked a lot. It doesn't necessarily perform all that well against the cars it's been up against, but it's definitely a popular pick. So, but hey, if you want to see this Wolf hot Weiler, this Wolf car where the hood chatters like an open and closing mouth on a wolf, if that's what you want to see, that's what you want to see. Okay, just take that number, put it into the chat, and we will race it against whatever cars that I happen to be cracking open. So yeah, we got 2 more cars into the catalog. This has been another test edition of At the Track Live, and again, pretty soon, once we make a couple of little tweaks here and there, going to begin advertising the streams, and hopefully get more people in here and get some suggestions for other cars that people would like to see race. And that will be hopefully it will start a trend, will create a community, just Hot Wheels enthusiasts, Hot Wheels collectors, and just people who like to have fun. These are great toys that span generations. Boys, girls, men, women, old, young, everybody loves Hot Wheels. So I hope to see you again and again and again, and pick a car. Let's have some fun, have some races. So until then, I am Coach James for At the Track Live, and I will see you at the races.